This morning I wanted to come on and talk to you guys about something that I've never talked to anyone about before. This is the morning after a binge. So yesterday my husband called me and he said he was having some irregular beats of his heart, and he does have a cardiac history. He had an aortic aneurysm of the arch of his heart in 2017, and he has had to have 3 open heart surgeries dealing with that. And so he sees a cardiologist, and I was really hoping that when I listened to his heart when I got home, it would just be a normal abnormal variant. So unfortunately it was not. It sounded like he was throwing PVCs, which are when your ventricle contracts at abnormal times and it beats, even though it's not supposed to be beating at that exact moment. So the problem with PVCs is that it can then cause your heart to go into a worse arrhythmia. So I called my dear friend who is a cardiology NP, and she has this really cool machine. You can get them online now. I didn't know about them. I'm super pumped. It's called Kardia, Kardia, and it will actually give you a EKG reading. And so we went over to their house. She showed us how to use it, and we brought it home last night. And within about 15 minutes of being home, we found that my husband's heart rhythm had turned into AFib. Atrial fibrillation is when your atrium begins to quiver instead of actually causing good, nice contractions. So thankfully, this particular rhythm was only lasting for about 20 seconds, and it was sporadic. It wasn't constantly. He wasn't having chest pain. He wasn't having lightheaded or dizziness. His blood pressure was great. So I called my friend back, and she kind of told us, let's go ahead and do a little bit more of this cardiac med and watch for this and this and this. And, right now, thankfully, he's on a blood thinner because he has an artificial mechanical, 2 parts of his heart are artificial. And so we knew that it wouldn't cause him to have any blood clots. At least he wouldn't be throwing or stroking out, So we didn't go to the emergency room last night. And so being a medical provider, and just as you probably heard in my previous videos, I tend to catastrophize, especially when it is a loved one. We go to worst case scenario of what could be going on and what could be happening. The concern that we might, end up in the ER that night or anything. Anyway, I just catastrophize, and my thinking snowballs to worst case scenario. So what I decided to do was binge, and I went to Dunkin' Donuts and got an ice cream cone and donuts. And I'm getting a little emotional just because of, what's going on. But I also didn't sleep last night because I just felt like I needed to lay there and put my hand on his wrist or on his chest and make sure that his heart was beating okay. So I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I'm just kind of frazzled. Anyway, so I made the conscious decision last night to soothe myself with food. And what was different with this binge than the other binges is that It was a super conscious decision. My binges used to be autopilot, just didn't even think about it and wasn't aware of the space I was in, completely zoned out, etc. This was not that. I made the conscious decision. Every bite, every mile that I drove to the store, everything was completely conscious. And that is scary, because before I could blame it on the fact that I wasn't even thinking about it. Did it make anything better? No. Oh. So now what am I going to do about it? Well, I've never talked to anyone about it before. Not unless it was anonymous in group. But I feel like I need to talk about it. One, because you guys are phenomenal, and I know that's a sense of accountability, which is huge for me, which might be why I was more conscious about it last night. And I really need to figure out how to cope with these things now, in case we're going to be faced with some more things with my husband that I'm going to need to deal with. And so today my goal is to try to take this clinical, analytical look at what I did and why I did it and how I'm not going to do it next time. I have made a commitment to myself this morning that I am not going to continue my binge today. That is usually what happens. What happens is I'll binge and then I'll completely restrict the next day, no food whatsoever, which then of course makes me extremely hungry that night or the next day, and then I'll just binge again. So I've made the commitment not to do that. I have fruits and vegetables and protein, and I'm going to eat healthy and nutritious today. I'm going to get my movement in to make me feel better. I'm going to do a lot of praying. And so that is my goal. And I will let y'all know when I come up with a game plan so that this doesn't happen again. And if you guys could just say some prayers today for my husband, I would greatly appreciate that. He's going to be calling his cardiologist first thing this morning, and I'm sure they'll get him in ASAP so we can figure out what's going on. And we're hoping that it's, easy, something easy to deal with. Thank you for listening to me and letting me talk. Any suggestions you guys have, I'm open to it. I feel like that's one of the most amazing things about this community, is that we have so much we can share with each other from the experiences we've been through, and we can love and support one another. And I can't thank you guys enough for all of that and what you've done for me in just a few months of me being on here. I love you guys.